I did all the Christmas things this video and I can't wait to share them. I upcycled things I pulled from the trash and things I've had sitting in my stash for a while that I've definitely needed a makeover, and I can't wait to show you how I did it. Let's get started.
So here is our before picture. We're going to be working on a chair I got for free, a rolling pin, a set of 3 nesting boxes, and a basket. First up, let's go ahead and pull our rolling pin. We are going to be painting the handles on this with Fusion paint in Fort York Red. To get the desired color that I really want from this, I am going to be adding 2 coats of this color. It didn't quite cover as much as I had hoped it would, and I really wanted to have a deep dark red on this, so I will be applying that second color. And while I'm applying this, let me introduce myself. My name is Sandra, and I'm the owner and creator here at Midwest Charm. I specialize in repurposed, upcycled vintage home decor and furniture, as well as all of your crafty needs. I carry DIY paint, Sweet Pickins Milk Paint, Iron Orchid Designs, Roycycled Treasures, Connie Lines and Designs, and more. You can find us on all of our social medias, which are linked below, as well as on our website, www.midwestcharm.co. And if you happen to be in Minnesota, we are in East Central Minnesota, and we have a storefront that you can visit per our hours or by appointment. So the one thing I didn't manage to do was to get me painting the barrel of this rolling pin. I did put 1 coat of Fusion's Manor green on it, but I don't know what happened to the footage. So we are going to be taking this transfer from Santa's Hollow. It is part of the Iron Orchid Designs newest release. And we are going to be applying this transfer to the barrel of our rolling pin. And we are going to be using the tool that came with the transfers, with all of the IOD transfers. And we're going to be rubbing this down and applying it and pulling back that top layer as we go. And let me apologize right now. I had a glitch when filming and I must have clicked on slow-mo. So I had to adjust here back and forth between speeding it up, and it was a mess. So I apologize. I wanted to get this as best as I could for your viewing pleasure. So I hope I accomplished that. Once I have this transfer fully applied, I'm going to take that top grid piece and rub it all over the transfer. We are going to do this to get out any air bubbles and to make sure that all of our edges are sealed down. And speaking of sealing, even though Fusion paint has a top coat in it, I am going to go ahead and use some DIY crystal clear chandelier to seal in this transfer, just to make sure that it is well protected. But before I do that, we are going to take our finger sander with some 220 grit sandpaper that's pretty worn down, and we are going to distress the handles, the barrel, and even over our transfer. I want to make this look like it is old and has been worn out. And another thing that I don't ever really record is sometimes those final touches that I do before doing our final pictures. So stay tuned to the very end of the video for the final pictures with these items all staged up. But in the meantime, I'm going to finish sanding, sealing this. And once the sealer is dried, I do go in with some dark wax to go over all of those worn spots that I did distress. I just wanted to add a little bit more age to this piece. I love this piece. He is so stinking cute. And I gotta say, I was totally inspired for the today's projects from Sonnet's Maker's Box. Y'all check out my link below in the description. It has a way to bypass the wait list and to get your box immediately starting next month. Project number 2 is a basket. So this little cutie has been in my stash for a while, and I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. This is Connie's paper called Peppermint Wishes, and I'm going around this with a paintbrush and some water because I want to have like a real organic torn, worn look to it. So we're going to do this with the water, and then I'm going to go over the piece and carefully pull this out so it's got that ripped up, worn look. I really love how this turns out. Um, Once I have this completely out, we are gonna flip this over onto the plastic that this paper came into, and I'm gonna go ahead and give this a coat of DIY's White Swan on the back. I really want the colors to pop, and I don't want it to pull through the colors from the basket. So we're gonna go ahead and give that just one quick coat of that DIY White Swan paint, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. Once the back of this has dried, we will get back to it. But in the meantime, we're going to set this off to the side and pull out that Fort York red again. I'm kind of making a vignette with all these pieces so that we can style them together in the very end. And I'm going to take that Fort York red by Fusion and go around the basket handle and rim. I want to add just that pop of color to this, and that is how we are going to do that. And this is a bit more time consuming part of it. And if you do get any paint where you don't want it, this is sandable and you can just go in with that little finger sander and rub it off. You do see me hit those spots once or twice while doing this, and it's no worries because it's just paint and we can get that back off. So you can see me just going in. I'm going to do that cute little rim of the basket where it opens, and then I'm also going to do the handle. And I do go over this like with 1.5 coats. So as I'm moving around, it's drying on those first spots. So by the time I get all this done, I can go back over and just give it a really quick touch up coat, and that was enough. And I really think this is going to help this piece pop. I did not paint over the hinges or the little brass rivets that are holding the handle on. I left those as is. Painting the trim and the handle of a basket is a simple way to give it a more modern look so that it matches your decor or can be used seasonally. It's just a quick and easy way to give that a really good upcycle. I also go in and do the underside of this handle as well and all along the little edges. So all those parts are going to be done as well. Then we are going to let this dry before we move on to that next step. But here you see me being careful around these little hinges because I do want to leave that brass color there. It was a really pretty, not quite like um and not really an antique, but more like that oil rubbed. So it was a really pretty color and it matched really well with the wood tone of the basket and that red. So we're going to leave those be. If it was really shiny or maybe a silver, I probably would have painted over them, but I really liked the look of them together. So we are going to go in and take out our decoupage medium and we are going to paint the back of this, place it down, and then I'm going to go over the top and load it up pretty good. I'm going to go in heavily with that to make sure that this rice paper adheres really well to our basket. I'm going to give you a quick little sneak peek, but hang out to the very end of our video for staged up pictures of this adorable basket. Next up are those nesting boxes. Now, when I bought these, Goodwill had taped them shut, which tore a bunch of the finish off of them. So they just were not attractive and they had two different textures. So I am going to go in on these tops and we're going to paint the tops of these with DIY's White Swan because we're going to be decoupaging this part. So I'm going to go around the rim over the top and then the little lip of this piece as well to make sure that it all is white. And then we're going to set these three pieces aside to dry. So we are going to be doing this white because we really want the colors in our decoupage paper to absolutely shine. And the best way to do that is to have a lighter background underneath. If I had left the gingham pattern on there, that buffalo check pattern on there, it would have come through the paper and it would have distorted that final look. And I really, really wanted this to be a more neutral looking. You'll see. You'll see. I love how these turned out. So we're going to go ahead and paint all three of these tops because we're going to have them match but not match. And then we will be pulling out our Yuletide Whispers and our Festive Fireside Plaid by Roycycled. And we are going to be doing a really fun decoupage on these. Here you can see me doing that underside lip. I just want this to match and not have that red and black pop through. If the white shines through, I'm good with it, but I mostly get it covered up with our decoupage paper. We are going to be doing that rim in one of the papers and the very top with the other paper. And I'm really, really loving how these turned out. I have another set of boxes waiting and I can't wait to do the same treatment to those as well. Now for the bottom of these boxes, because there was some rips and some different textures going on, I did decide to go in with the Fusion Manor green and give them two, well, like 1.5 coats. One coat really um, gave okay coverage, but I wanted that second coat to give it a really rich dark green. And that just also ensured that the textures, because it's self-leveling, that texture between the smoother cardboard and that ripped part just really evened out. And I really think it turned out beautiful. These are really simple and easy to paint, so it was just a matter of going in and putting on that paint. And you can see there's some streakies, so I definitely needed that like little bit of touch-up coat to finish these off. And this does dry fairly quickly, so that made this very easy as well. I did all the bottoms and then went back and did the sides and then went back and started over on those bottoms. It was perfect. Let's talk a little bit about Sonnet's Maker's Box. You always get two Fusion milk paints, two DIY paints, a Sweet Pickins milk paint, two exclusive painted photographer papers and two exclusive recycled papers, as well as the digital press. Now, if you don't want to purchase the big box, Sonnet does have options available now where you can just get the paint, just get the papers, or just do that digital maker's press. All of them are amazing components, and I think you would be happy with any of them. Again, if you want to get on to the box for next month, click my link below. You will not have to be on her wait list until she opens it back up again. You can bypass that. So make sure you are doing that if you are interested in receiving this box. We're going to go ahead and do these sides and then get this set aside to dry and move on to our decoupage. We're going to pull out the plaid first, and this needs to kind of be measured. So I'm going to have those tops available. And on the bottom middle of the screen, you can kind of see I'm lining up the top and then noticing where it lines up with those stripes and then cutting along the stripe, leaving me a little bit of excess so that I have a little more paper than what that size is. I'm going to repeat this process for all three of these and just kind of cut each strip out and then set them aside. And I know this probably seems complicated. Excuse me, complicated. It really wasn't. I just laid it on there, went about one little quarter of an inch bigger, and then cut. And again, we're going to repeat the process for all three of these. And then we will pull out our Mr. bottle and our decoupage medium. And for this, I'm going to be using DIY's Crystal Clear Chandelier. And that was what we will use for this medium. We are going to go ahead and mist these strips so that it relaxes all of those fibers and those wrinkles come out in there. And then we're going to take our decoupage medium and do a little spot and line up our paper exactly how we want it and smooth that out with your fingers. I am so sorry I'm off screen for part of this. I really tried to edit it and get it back in there. I had a different camera angle than normal, and I'm going to be going back to my other one because this just was not working for me while doing this part. So we're just going to continue this process of adding our decoupage medium, smoothing out our strip, and doing a coat of decoupage medium over the top. And I do end up going in and misting it if it's a little bit dry by the time I get to the next part, or if I just want to get out any of those extra wrinkles, I just add a little bit more water. We are going to repeat this process until we are all the way through to the end. I'm going to end up snipping off any excess paper, leaving about a quarter of an inch overlap and decoupaging that down. So putting the medium on the bottom and then putting the medium over the top. And because this is a plaid, it actually blended in on all three of these pieces really, really easily, and you can't tell that there's a seam there. And this process will be repeated for all three of these. And we're going to make sure these are nice and dry before moving on to our next step. Next up, I'm taking out Yuletide Whispers. I cut out three sections that I really liked, and a couple of them had the plaid on that part too, so that it helped tie into the plaid on the rim. And I'm just going to go in on these and make sure that any little excess of that paper is glued down for all intents and purposes, making sure those are all decoupaged down, adding a nice healthy layer of decoupage medium across the whole top. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay this one on. And then this is the smallest one. We're going to lay this on and then just smooth it with my hands and then back over with the decoupage medium. We're going to repeat this process for all three of these tops. Once we have the decoupage paper on it, we are going to set this aside to thoroughly dry. And here we are with the next one. So we are going to line this up exactly where I want this one. This one's a little bit bigger, so I want to make sure it's lined up first. Then I'm going to turn back half of this. We're going to go ahead and apply our decoupage medium. We're going to smooth that out and then flip this the other way and do the exact same thing and repeat that on the other side until it's completely smoothed out. Then we will go across the whole top with our decoupage medium and make sure it's all got a good coat on it, and then set this aside to completely dry. I also, which I didn't show, I do mist these pieces as well. I make sure that they are damp and all of those fibers are relaxed so that when this dries, it dries nice, wrinkle free, and nice and smooth and nice and tight. It's the perfect way to do these, and it gets any of those folds out that were in the paper initially. In my opinion, misting your decoupage paper is a must. It is the absolute best way I have found for me personally to apply my decoupage papers. And here again, I'm lining this up with how I want this on there. I want to make sure I get that stamp. I want to make sure that the Christmas gift wording is on there. And I want as much of Santa's sleigh on there as possible. And I'm starting on the left side this time with this piece because I want to make sure that the words and Santa are on there first, and then we will make sure that it's completely lined up how I want, and then do the other side. Again, this is an easy process. The paper does get misted. Everything just goes on so smooth and so beautiful. I do, once these are dry, go in with that sanding finger sander, and I do sand off the edges of the excess transfer paper. And I did leave that on there and didn't do like an exact cut because I wanted to make sure that the edges were nice and smooth and that I didn't mess up any of my cuts, and it was all perfect and ready to go. And then I do go in with some DIY clear and dark waxes on those lids around the edges to camouflage any of the white paint that may be peeking through, and also give it just some extra durability. These would look so stinking cute with some beautiful ribbon for gifts. Project number 4 is an old chair that I found on the side of the road. And we are going to be using Sweet Pickins Milk Paint in Red Wagon. I have measured out the amount of water I needed, and I am going to go ahead and add in an equal amount, if not just a wee bit more than equal, in the paint. Then we are going to go ahead and stir this up. You can use a mini whisk. You can use a plastic fork. I just grabbed a popsicle stick and am getting it all mixed up. Then you're going to set this aside to sit for about 10 minutes to thicken up. Then we're going to go in and just paint this on. Y'all, I got such good coverage with this color, and I didn't even need to go in with that second coat. I just did one good coat here of this beautiful red wagon. I know it's coming off a little orange in the video here. It definitely was not orange. This is definitely a red. And I am going to be doing the underside of everything and evening out. So it's got multiple coats of paint. It's already chippy. It's got some like alligator finished almost to it. So we're going to even that all out with this milk paint. I'm going to flip this over. We're going to do the underside. We are going to do every little teeny tiny bit with one coat of this. And I don't even take a hairdryer to this or anything. Normally on these pieces, if I want that chippy, beautiful aged look, I will go in with a heat gun or a hairdryer to speed up that drying process because it helps it chip even more. And I didn't even need to do that with this piece. We just went in and just let it dry naturally. I actually left it for about 4 days, I think. I did this, oh, it wasn't even 4 days, like 3 days. I did this on Monday, and then I came in and finished it on Thursday. But you can see the coverage is so good. You guys, milk paint is unpredictable. You are never going to know how much it's going to chip or not chip unless you are using extra bond in your paint to make it not chip. If you use that extra bond, it should stay firmly in place and not move unless you are distressing it. I love the color selection of Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. I love the silky, smooth finish when you sand this. It can have lumps in it from when you mix it because it is a powder. And when you sand it to remove any of those, oh my gosh, you guys, it's so buttery smooth. I love it. This will not keep for very long. So if you plan to use this, mix up exactly what you need or just a little bit less. You can cover it and put it in the fridge for it to keep, and you may get a couple days out of it, but typically this is going to get rock hard and you are going to not be able to use the rest of it. And you can see it, there's brown on this part of the seat, and it's just giving me such amazing coverage. And we are going to be using this as a decor piece. It's old, it's got a little wobble to it, but I love everything about it and don't want to mess with that. So I am just leaving this as is. I'm not nailing it or screwing it or gluing it or anything. We're just going to be using it for decor. So milk paint does need to be sealed, and I always recommend to my customers to use one of their oil waxes or a wax to seal it, because sometimes when you are adding the final finishes, which is Sweet Pickins top coat, it can reactivate it and make it crackle more. So just be aware of that. And you can kind of see some of that texture that's already in this finish on this chair. And I don't mind that because we're going to distress the heck out of this chair. Here it is fully painted and it's gonna be set aside to dry. I'm going in with a really worn piece of 220 grit sandpaper on my electric sander, and this is just with a very light hand. I'm going over to get any of the chunks off and to distress the edges, and it's pulling off any of the spots that already had that chippiness right off, and it looks so good. I'm gonna flip it over, do the legs. I'm gonna do every part of this, and look, you guys, you can see all those layers and all the different colors that were used in this originally. But you know me, we're not finished. We're going in with Sweet Pickins Dark Oil Wax, and we are going to apply this to every surface. And we're going to let this sit while I am doing that. So we're just going to put this on. You want to let this soak in to your milk paint, and it's just going to go ahead and give it just such a beautiful finish. It's gonna, that dark color is gonna seep into all the chips and cracks, and it's gonna seal this up to such a beautiful hard, just a beautiful finish. This is my favorite thing to use to seal up this milk paint. I have used the clear, I have used the white, I've used the dark, and I've used the black. I've used all the colors, you guys. It is so, so good. It just gives it such a nice hard finish, and the color is stunning. Make sure you are in a well ventilated place while you are using your oil wax. Um, you want to make sure that when you wipe this off, I just use shop towels, that you set those aside to dry and make sure you're disposing of them per your hazardous waste because they are combustible, and you want to make sure that you are taking care of that properly. That aside, you guys, if you haven't tried Sweet Pickins oil waxes, they are a must. If you love the milk paint, you will love, love, love the finish that this oil wax gives you. And they have all the colors. It's so good, you guys. It's so stinking good. We are almost to the end. We are gonna see our final pictures, and I may have a surprise because these pieces, some of them, you may see in a video in a couple of weeks here because I'm doing a collab and I can't wait to show you what we're doing. And here's our final results.
So what did you think? What was your favorite project? You guys stay tuned because you may be seeing some of these projects work its way into another video in early November. That is part of a challenge, and I can't wait, but I wanted to get some of these projects started for that to make it a little bit shorter and easier video since we kind of have a time limit with that collab. But I'm really excited to share what I did. And honestly, I don't know. I'm looking at my items. I don't know what was my favorite this time. I always love a good chippy chair, and that chair is fabulous. It has so much layers and chippy, and it is amazing. But then again, I really love that little simple basket and the rolling pin and that set of 3 little stacking boxes. It was ripped because Goodwill likes to put tape on them, and so it had like a bunch of the finish taken off. So I'm really glad that I was able to upcycle them in such an adorable way. They're going to be so cute to wrap, just a beautiful little velvet ribbon on them and give them as gifts. Use it as your wrap. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. It doesn't cost a thing. Just got to click that little button below, and we will see you all next time. Bye.